evening. MMA is back, and we got UFC Paris for tomorrow's early lock card on DraftKings. Here with the full crew today, we got JBC, we got Dan, and of course myself, JSU, hosting the ship for UFC Paris. Renato Moicano versus Benoit Saint Denis. Can't wait for this card. Awesome card. We got a bunch of fights. Hopefully they all stick on this card. 14 fights here. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling ready to pick some winners. JBC, I know you're ready. You were in there early talking some MMA.
Yeah, I mean, we had to get a look at him on the scales this morning. You know, Aylin Perez had her struggles. I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But you know, you always want to see how they weigh in to see how they're going.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like some things are, some things are a little more overblown, but when you've got guys or girls that just look absolutely miserable on the scale, it's not even like that they miss weight. Some guys or girls miss weight, and it's not that big of a deal. Sometimes it's a little bit of a strategy, depending on who they're fighting and their styles and everything. But there's some that you can just tell they used every ounce of energy to try and cut down to the weight, and they just still couldn't do it. And those are the people that you got to take note of. And Dan, we might have to take note of someone, obviously, that JBC already referenced on this card.
Yeah, she was looking rough. She still managed to do the flex, but no twerking. So that is a sign of concern for me.
Let me tell you right now, if you've ever,
that's a problem.
If you've ever been that type of exhausted where you just have nothing left, which is that way when you cut weight, it's that way when you push your body to the extreme type limits. If you've ever pushed your body to the extreme type limits, you can, at the end of the day, you can still put your arms over your head. You can still try and act like you're not, but you know when they're just, playing for the cameras, and she was dead exhausted. So we'll get to that. I think it's interesting too with her style of fighting. I mean, listen, her style of fighting is heavy grappling, the judo, the wrestling, and not really the striking. It's more that, which, does she have the cardio to go 3 rounds and 3 rounds of wrestling and grappling? Because that's way different than 3 rounds of even standing on your feet and, just stick and move type stuff. She doesn't fight that way, So JBC, I think that's more the interesting part of her missing weight is her fight style. She kind of needs the cardio.
Yep. Oh, 100%. And I think it's a big negative for her. And I mean, listen, we'll get to it when we talk about that fight. But I've got some takes as far as MMA, how to treat that fight, and I think that it's a big turning point for how you can target your DFS lineups.
Yeah, I like it. I can't wait for the strategy talk, obviously. And like I said, hopefully we were talking about it, earlier in the Discord, and hopefully the fight stays. The line didn't come off. Like they didn't move the line really at all, JBC. I don't think. Has it moved since this morning at all?
Not really.
Okay. So that kind of is a telling thing here that maybe people aren't as worried, but we'll see. We'll have to see as we get closer to the fight. Maybe some money just comes in like right before fight time or something on the dog. So you never know. But all right, we got 14 fights. Let's get right down to it. By the way, this was 2 weeks ago, but I got receipts for those of you that were making fun of me for my Ketlin Souza underdog inside the distance pick and the under on the fight. And exactly, if you watched that show, and again, I got a lot of stuff wrong on that show. I swear to God, the title fights, I cannot pick a fucking title fight winner. I literally think I'm like 0-6 in title fights in the last, like, however many fights we've had. Like the last 5 or 6 of them, I swear I've got them all wrong. But those
that makes sense because I've been winning them all.
Yeah, and we're normally on different sides. But those low-level, especially women's type fights, those fights are like literal gold. And if you watch that show, I literally scripted out exactly how she would finish, like not exact, like how she would get her to that point where she had a chance to finish her. It was plus 1,000. It was literally plus 1,000. There's no way anyone in the industry had her winning by finish. Probably most of the people didn't even have her winning. But like if they had her winning, no one was talking about her finishing. And I know all this stuff was like, oh, she couldn't finish Martic Man. And I explained why it was a little different than that fight with Mark McMahon, but I just wanted to give myself props because I know those people that made fun of me, they're fucking hiding somewhere. So I just give myself a little pat on the back.
A quick Yasmin Uregi update. She is now on OnlyFans. So if that gives you any indication of how
wait, Katlyn Souza did not just drop her and sub her, but she also got her on OnlyFans after. I mean, that's a triple victory right there. I mean, you're welcome to all the OnlyFans lovers because Katlyn Souza got her on OnlyFans. So if you're into that stuff.
I don't know if she's
JBC, have you checked it out? Is it
I have
lit?
not checked it out.
No. Yeah. What do you
might need to?
Yeah.
We just found out about it.
Does that mean the UFC career is slowly I mean,
you know how we print fading the OnlyFans fighters. You fade the OnlyFans fighters, you make money.
The money they make on OnlyFans is probably crazy. So I saw some chick made like 50 million or something over the past like however many years on OnlyFans. So the amount of money that these chicks are making on OnlyFans is just absolutely insane. So
we're in the wrong business.
Business. Hey, listen, you do you. Chicks on OnlyFans, you do you. If you're making money and you're happy, good for you. I'm happy for you. But let's get to this card here, and we're gonna start with a fight where I'm totally gonna pronounce the name wrong, and I'm just gonna call him Oki. But it might even be wrong there. We've got Oki versus Duncan here. The line's sitting at minus 180. Oki's favored. We all know Chris Duncan, tough dude. Chin's a little bit suspect, but he gets dropped. He can get back up. But JBC, what are you seeing here with this fight?
I think they're going to get in there and swing. And, in those types of situations, I like to take the dog. Chris Duncan getting, it was up as high as like plus 188 earlier in the week, and it's back all the way down at 150. I really think that this is a coin flip fight. So getting plus 150 on Duncan, I think he's got a very, very good chance of knocking him out.
I like that take. I think it's closer to a coin flip fight than it is like minus 200 or whatever he was sitting at. So I'm kind of more on your side of this fight. And I do think they get in there and swing a little bit, especially after Oki's first fight, in the UFC. So I think this is a little different. Dan, what about you? Do you agree it might be a little different fight?
I've got some concerns about Duncan's chin. We've seen him hurt quite a bit. I agree that it's a coin flip fight and they're going to swing, but because I've got concerns about Duncan's chin, I did take Oki, but I agree. Yeah, they're going to go in there and swing. Someone's going to die. I think it's a great fight to target. Hospital 130 potential.
Hospital.
I've got both guys. I haven't had a chance to do my own ownership yet, but just looking at what Saber has right now, they've got each of these guys sitting around like mid 20s, and I think that's pretty efficient. It might come in a little lower because, as we've discussed on previous shows, people do not like to target the first fight because they don't want to be, like drawing dead after the first fight. So I think we could use that to our advantage. And yeah, I think this is a great fight to target. They're both priced. Duncan, obviously the price is a lot more appealing than Oki. Concerns about Oki, going down to the wire in a split decision with Timmy Kwamba, even though we like Timmy Kwamba. I believe he was a short notice replacement. So it's a bit of a red flag for me. Not quite as big of a red flag as Duncan's chin, though. So yeah, ultimately I land on Oki, but I think they're both great DFS plays. I
think Duncan's going to go in there, and I kind of agree with JVC. I think he's going to make it uncomfortable, and they're going to end up swing. I think that's what he has to do. I think that's kind of how his path to winning. I think he's got to kind of be a little more like grinder type, get in there and kind of push the pace on Oki. Don't make it like a battle where, you're just kind of sitting back waiting. That's not the fight here. I think Chris Duncan's going to bring that kind of more aggressive fight to Oki and just see if he can win out and get a finish or something like that. So I kind of agree. I'm on the Duncan side. I also think with 14 fights, Dan, the point you made about fading the first fight, the ownership might even get lower than what Saber has him at right now, because like you said, no one likes it. And on top of that, we're used to having 12 fights, even 11 fights on these cards. We got 14. So there's even more options, multiple more options for people to click where they can fade that first fight. Looking at what Oki did against Timmy Kwamba last time, and then Chris Duncan, even in wins, hasn't scored like amazing indecisions, like not bad indecisions actually because of the takedowns, but like, people can make cases to fade this fight. So I think that makes it even better for DFS. So I'm in on this first fight. I like it. Let's move to the next fight. We got Nora Corneal. I definitely fucked that up versus Jacqueline Cavalcanti. Cavalcanti sitting at -205. I don't like either of these fighters. I'll just be honest. I thought Jacqueline was very lucky to win her last fight. She's just a point fighter. She does nothing. Like, yeah, her stand-up's okay, but she just brings nothing really to the table. There's no aggression, nothing. And they got her sitting at 8,700. I know she's going to be low owned, but her fighting style just doesn't do it for me. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm going to play anyone, it might be Nora, but I don't really love her game either. I will lean the dog just because I hate these point fighters. And I think, obviously styles make fights, but I think Nora can go in there and maybe just make it a little dirty and not, if it's just the technical stand up and just let her point and stick and move, like she's going to win a split decision. But even those split decisions, you never know what the judge is. So when you leave it that close for comfort, I think the dogs in these type of spots make for better bets just because Cavalcante is not going to just like clearly win out multiple rounds, which is a good thing. So JBC, I feel like a betting spot. This is a live dog for you.
I'm actually on the other side. I don't think that Jackie Cavalcanti is going to have much trouble just point fighting her on the feet. For DFS, Cornell would be the better play. You pretty much can't play Jackie at that price. I've only got her like 4 or 5% in my 150 right now. But I do think that she is just technically much better on the feet, and she's going to be able to just sit there and piece her up and score about 70 DFS points, take a 30-27, move on.
Yeah, Dan, I'm assuming the ownership on this fight is going to be pretty low.
Yeah, Sabre right now, I think, is actually pretty high on this fight. They've got Cavalcante at 19, Cornell at 16. I'll have Cavalcante certainly much lower than that in my ownership and in my own exposure. Yeah, just to like reiterate what's already been said, Cavalcante, extremely one-dimensional point fighter. You're not getting any wrestling or grappling upside from her. While Cornell, on the other hand, she's got a Muay Thai base. So, she's priced, as an underdog, 7,500, but she wants to like clinch you up, get in there, hit you with the knees, hit you with the clinch strikes. And a lot of times those grappling exchanges, the fight ends up on the mat. And I think if the fight gets on the mat, that's advantage Cornell. So I really like her as a play, just like as a low owned option here for cheap. And I also picked her to win. Cavalcante, she's coming off a pretty, a relatively dominant performance over, who did she just fight? Sorry.
Nunez.
Yeah, pretty dominant, but 91 strikes, and that's about it. She scored low 60s, 8,700 for that is like pretty much a non-starter for me. So, considering she's probably going to come in like quite low owned, I'll have some just for the like, oh shit, what just happened, aspect of it. But I'm much more interested in Cornell here.
Yeah, I'm with you on the dog here. I'm going to pick her. I just can't I hate these point fighters. I just can't do it with them. They just never make you feel comfortable. That's all I'm going to say about those type of fighting styles. But let's go to yeah.
Are we also concerned about Cavalcante's quick turnaround? Because she just fought like a couple weeks ago. I know she didn't really like take any damage or anything.
Yeah, the fact that she didn't get hit.
Yeah,
that's weight cuts in such a short amount of time. No, we're not worried about that.
I mean,
I wouldn't be, honestly, but
I mean, we're not super interested in her either way. So
yeah,
maybe that just like bolsters our case for playing a little more Cornell.
Yeah, maybe from like the betting and DFS side, maybe it bolsters the case a little bit, but I don't think that's coming into play that much. I literally just think it's going to end up being which style wins out. You know, so far, Calvacante in the UFC, her styles won out 2 fights, and she's, you know, been able to fight her fight, and no one's been able to change that. So we'll see if that happens again. This next fight, though, this is a much closer line fight. I think the lines flipped. If I remember correctly, we got Daniel Barres sitting at plus 110. Underdog on DraftKings right now. Victor Altamirano minus 130. JBC, did this line flip? Was Daniel Barres the favorite, if I remember correctly?
Originally, yes, and it's moved
Yes.
heavily toward Altamirano in the past 3-4 days when me and Dan were discussing cash lineups earlier in the week. You know, we were looking at Altamirano as a virtual lock for cash, and he was only minus 115 at the time. So now that he's up to minus 130, I mean, it's an even better play. I mean, he's less likely to get a finish, but you know, the win upside is substantial for somebody that only costs 7,800, and I do think he wins. So I really like Victor Altamirano both as a bet and for fantasy.
Yeah, Dan, I feel like coming into the fight, I was on the Altamirano side. So to see that he's flipped to a favorite makes me feel even better about what I was thinking going into this fight. But it sounds like you're going to agree. But why do you agree?
Yeah, I'm also on Altamirano. I mean, like, you know, the line flipping obviously is the major factor there. He's a screaming value now. Got him projected, or Saber has him projected to be about 30% owned. I think that's maybe a little high since we have 14 fights, but again, like, that is a screaming value. His inside the distance is not very good, but last time out landed 9 takedowns, still lost in Mexico City, which is interesting, you know, for everybody who likes to, I'm sure we'll get to it later, but I know a big talking point for especially these international cards that are filled with like the local fighters. People like to talk about, oh, the crowd is going to be behind this person and it influences the judges. Tend to think that's kind of bullshit. So, and, you know, Altamirano's last time out sort of, you know, validates that thought. So, yeah, I think Altamirano is a great play. Barres, I'm less excited about, mostly because of the line flipping and also just not strong inside the distance numbers either. So I think it's Altamirano here.
Yeah, I think Barres might be a little more dangerous like early in this fight, but the more the fight goes on, it definitely favors Altamirano. And he's shown that, I mean, he's just tough. You know what I mean? Like, he's tough to finish. I don't think he's been finished yet in his UFC fights. So like all of his fights are pretty much going to decision, except for the one fight where he won by KO. You know, and he's fought some decent guys, you know, here. So I think if this fight goes to a decision, I definitely feel way more comfortable on the Altamirano side. I don't think either it's crazy for him to find a late finish. Like, I don't know if you're looking at like round 2 and 3 props, you know, for like a submission or a, you know, KO. Maybe Barres gets, you know, a little more tired after the early rounds and he could find a late finish. I don't think that's crazy either. Right now, Victor Altamirano, he's plus 650 by sub, plus 1,000 by KO. I don't hate taking a shot on those inside the distance numbers, you know, especially if you want to do like a round 2 and 3 late type thing and take a bigger number. I think round 3 is probably like plus 2,500 or something like that for him to finish, maybe 40 to 1 by KO in round 3, 28 to 1 in round 2. If you want some fun sweats, submissions, 28 to 1 in round 3. I don't think those are crazy. All right, let's keep moving. We all agree on that fight. We'll definitely have some disagreements as we keep moving. Here's the Elena Perez fight versus, oh God, I'm just going to call her Dare because I'm not pronouncing that last name. But I remember her first fight against Rendon, and I was not very impressed with this chick. She could not really stop takedowns. And after one round of grappling and wrestling, she immediately lost all sting on her punches. It looked like she was clearly tired from that round of grappling and wrestling. So if Elena Perez, who, you know, is going to come in with grappling and wrestling, like that's what she does. Like, she's going to do the judo. And I noticed Rendon, when she'd get that body lock, she was going down. And Alina Perez, she just wants to get her hands on you. And then once she gets her hands on you, that's where she does the trips and the judo throws and everything like that. So this does set up as a good matchup for Alina Perez, just with her style. I think that it's going to give Dare some problems. And the fact that I saw her after one round of wrestling and grappling with Rendon be shot, tired. Now, she still fought. She still threw. It's not like she was exhausted to the point where she was quitting. It was just more, I could tell she lost sting on some of those punches because she wants to stay on the feet. She is more of a striker than a grappler wrestler. So I think this fight is really interesting. JBC, you said you have some interesting leans on this fight. What are they?
So, I think that usually when Aylin Perez fights, because of her extreme wrestling upside, her ownership goes through the roof. And I'm sure that Dan's going to make the exact same point after me. But, I think that this might be a spot to target her despite the weight issue, just because she costs more than Benoit Saint Denis, which is crazy. But we've seen her go out there and score a gazillion points almost every time she goes out. On the flip side, Zheleznyakova, usually I wouldn't be that interested in her, but because of the weight miss, Aylin Perez, we don't know if she's compromised. The line hasn't really moved that much, but it might in the morning. We'll know more tomorrow morning. But if she's compromised, she could just get knocked out in the first round. So taking some stabs on Zheleznyakova, KO props, I think are that is a worthwhile bet to me. Zheleznyakova round 1, round 2. And then for DFS, you can play them both because, Perez is upside, and then Zheleznyakova, if she gets an early knockout, she's nutted too.
Yeah, the only downside to playing both in DFS is if somehow this fight gets fucking scrapped or something like that, which obviously you never know. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but that's that would be the only downside because I do agree. You could see both girls have upside depending on how the situation goes. And if Alina Perez can get, if she can get takedowns and she's going to get a bunch of them because she doesn't have good control, Dan, which is the good thing for DFS, right? She takes people down, lets them back up, takes people down. The only problem is that makes you tired if you just keep doing those mat returns constantly. So that's where the weight miss is bigger. But talk about this fight. I assume you agree with JBC. It's a good spot to kind of play both sides.
I agree with all those points. Right now, Saber's got them each at 17%. I'm kind of skeptical that the field is going to come off of Perez. She's been very popular. She's another one of those fighters that I've basically been I've been fading pretty much every time out, much to my own detriment. She's like the female Diego Lopez to me, just makes me look like an asshole every single time. But yeah, I mean, due to the uncertainty, I think, both are obviously live for a huge score. And if the ownership is going to come down, then it's really interesting, especially Zheleznyakova at, 7,100. She doesn't need to do much. And I honestly think that Perez's striking is pretty poor, and Zheleznyakova should have her on the feet. So if Perez is in fact compromised, and we already know she, she comes out very aggressive with her wrestling, but the wrestling's not that good. Evidenced by the fact that she can't ever hold anyone down. So, if she gets a couple takedowns early and Zheleznyakova is able to get up and, sort of start piecing her up on the feet, I think Perez is going to be in deep shit. So I picked Zheleznyakova. I had Zheleznyakova before I even saw the weigh-in. So I like that side much more. And I'm fully prepared for Aylin Perez to make me look like a dick again.
Yeah, these DFS numbers though, 110, 88, 138 in her last three decision fights. It's just that's pretty crazy for women's MMA. Again, like I said, it's maybe a lower level, but I those numbers are tough. They're tough to fade when I look at them, guys. I know that. Well, that's the reasons why you would.
That's why I'm skeptical. That's why I'm skeptical that the ownership is going to come down due to the weight miss, because I tend to think that the field is paying more attention to box scores than they are to the weigh-ins.
Yeah, they might be, honestly. I think I'm either going to fade this fight or just play the stud, just because I saw Zheleznyakova, or however you say her fucking name, and she Yeah, I'm telling you, she was gassed after one round of and Alina Perez will have 1.5 rounds, even being tired. She'll have 1.5 rounds of wrestling and grappling regardless. It's the end of the second and the third round where, she might have some struggles with the weight miss and everything like that. So if maybe the hedge is taking Zalezniakova by like finish in the third round, taking her there, and you kind of hedge it a little bit with like a KO or something. But yeah, I'm going Perez. I'm going to play Perez in DFS. I just can't help it with those takedown numbers. Maybe she tries to get a finish too, because she knows she doesn't have 3 rounds of cardio in her. That's like another thing. Maybe she's more aggressive trying to, get a ground and pound finish or lock up a submission, or because normally she's not really that way. She's a little more aggressive on the ground, but that's not her game. You know what I mean? Like maybe she's going to go out and be more aggressive early, which wouldn't shock me at all. So, all right, we got some different takes there on that fight. Let's go to the next one. We got Taylor Lapilus here sitting a -360 favorite against Vince Morales, sitting plus 285 underdog on DraftKings right now. Everyone's on the Lapilus side. Dan, can you make a case for the Morales side, or is it just all Lapilus all day?
Yeah, I'm not. I'm really not into Morales. He's, this is, I believe, his second stint back in the UFC. It seems like they have brought him back specifically to lose to Taylor Lapilus. On the Lapilus side, not the most exciting DFS play. Plus 300 to finish inside the distance. But the ownership is going to reflect that. He's going to be like low teens, possibly even single digits at like 9,300 for somebody with like such poor inside the distance. But, I think he's worth taking a shot on. He's got some pretty good power. The volume is obviously like a huge problem, but I think he is actually live to score a knockout here. I believe I picked him. No, I have him by decision. That's a later fight I'm thinking of. Yeah, I have like little to no interest in Morales. When they bring these guys back who have been gone for like years. I mean, I think he went to regionals and probably tore it up there, possibly, or maybe I'm thinking of someone else later. No, I think it's him. Yeah, I just
He did.
they're way better. They're way better like low price, low owned options down in the range where Morales is at. I think Lapilus probably cruises. Lapilus is another guy who this is his second stint in the UFC, but I believe his first stint was like 3-1. He's just a super sound fighter. He's like much more talented, much more technically sound. So I really have little to no interest in the Morales side. I might sprinkle him in. Saber has Morales at 19%. I'm not sure what that's all about. I'm going to have him much lower than that in my ownership.
Yeah, I don't think I can play. I can make a case for a lot of dogs on this card. I think Lapilus just has him. Like he's good takedown defense on the feet. He clearly has him. The only thing that sucks about Lapilus is what you said with the volume. And JBC, that obviously comes into play with DFS. But we see this all the time with these type of fighters, and they're going to come in lower owned because of it. And he's 9,300. So are you getting over the field on someone like Lapilus? Or are you going to be more at the field
for DFS? Probably, just by virtue of being a little more spread out, he'll probably be single digits. So I'll probably be, I don't know, 10 or 12. But as far as betting wise, these point fighters like Lapilus, Vince Morales, by virtue of existing, plus 270 is too high of a number because they're going to sit there and point fight. It's probably going to be very hard to tell who's winning, and the judges may just go off script and split decision bullshit like we say with a lot of the lower level women's fights. Plus 270 on Morales is too high. I like Morales as a bet.
It's actually gone to plus 290 now.
Yeah, it's too high.
Yeah, it probably is a little too high. I don't think he's good, but I hate the point fighters. I'm with you on that. I talked about him earlier. I just can't stand them. The only difference is lower level women. I always talk about it, but those lower level women fights are those are the spots to be on those dogs. That's why the lines are completely, like you said, like this line plus 290. That's that's why. That's a little wide, obviously. So I think if you're betting this spot, it's dog or pass. But I don't like this fight. Like for DFS, I'm just going to probably stay away from this fight and be comfortable with whatever happens. If Lapalus finds an early, I mean, like to beat me, he's going to have to find like a first round finish. And I just don't think with this fighting style that I think if he finds a finish, it's still a little later in the fight he finds a finish. So I'm just going to be off this fight. Let's move to another fight that's, I mean, this is obviously a little bigger of a line here. We got Ludwig Klein sitting a minus 950 favorite over on DraftKings versus Roosevelt Roberts. JBC, I'll just throw it right back to you here. From a betting standpoint, are you just going to take a shot on Roberts because he's plus 625? Is that just crazy wide?
I don't think he has a really good shot to win outright, but his strength of schedule has not exactly been the easiest in UFC. Mm-hmm. You know, he fought Mateusz Rebecki last time out. You know, he's fought Ignacio Bahamondes. He's fought Jim Miller. Like, those are the people that are beating him. It's not like he's just getting beat up by total cans. So, I kind of like him to last to the end of the fight, which significantly lowers my interest in playing Ludwig Klein at whatever insane ownership he's going to get. So I don't necessarily like Roberts, but I don't really like, I think this goes to decision. So I think Klein wins a decision, but doesn't really score.
Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, Klein's beaten Bahamondes. Then he finds a finish, and then Thiago Moises, they go to decision. So, he's beaten some pretty good guys too. There's some pretty good guys in there that he's won against. So I like the take, though, that maybe this fight does go to decision. I assume, Dan, the ownership is going to be high, maybe on Klein, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, Klein, he's minus 190 to win inside the distance. I have him winning inside the distance. And Saber's got him projected 32% owned, which feels
low.
Feels a bit, you think, low. I think just because he's like 9,600 and, the dogs on the lower end aren't as appealing. But I guess
people just love those big favorites, though, Dan.
Yeah, but they also don't like paying up. Although I think the tide on that has kind of shifted since the first time we discussed that. People have not been shying away from the top priced options as much anymore. So
because it's been hitting every time because it's the right thing to do most of the time.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you also got your box score watchers. On the other side, Roberts, not super interested in, but at 6,600, if he wins in any way, shape, or form, he's obviously nutted. And he's got like some decent chokes. He could grab up a neck, we've seen that. How many times have we seen somebody who, a big favorite who were like, this guy should very obviously win, attempt a takedown and get caught in a front choke. And you're like, what the fuck? There goes your parlay. So, given that, I mean, Roberts, he's projecting to be like 7% owned, which also feels high. It's probably like a price consideration there, but don't have too much interest in him. But, at these prices, you got to mix them in for what it's worth.
Yeah, I kind of like JBC's take with, just taking a stand and maybe, I mean, the last time this happened, it actually didn't work out because it was Rosas. The last, right? Rosas was like the last big favorite, and that obviously didn't work out. And it was because he didn't get volume.
I mean, it almost still won. The second place lineup had Rosas.
That's a good point. And he was bad in it almost. Like bad as in like he didn't score that great, and it's still almost won. But the only difference, wasn't that a 10-fight card?
Yes.
And this is a 14-fight. So this is a different if there was 4 more fights on that card, JBC, it's probably not the second place winner. You know what I mean? So the different obviously circumstances with the cards, but yeah, I'm with you. I'm not betting anything in this fight, but I do think Klein wins. Maybe Klein by decision is only plus 200. I thought it would be a little bigger than plus 200, but maybe that's a stab I could take. We'll see. Nothing else here though for me. DFS, I'm lower on this fight just because I think people are going to end up getting to the big favorites here. So I'm going to be lower on Mr. Klein. Let's go to the next fight. Omar Sy sitting a minus 575 favorite versus Daewon Jung, plus 425. Omar Sy in his last fight, I think he got the submission round one. Yep, submission round one. Fighting in Paris. JBC, are we fading the Frenchman in Paris?
No, I think he's just going to sub him right off the bat. Pretty simple.
Yeah, what's the number on the sub right now?
It's
plus.
like,
it's plus 120.
Yeah,
it's plus money.
Yeah, I think he's just going to snatch a sub right off the rip.
I'm going to bet that. I didn't think it was going to be a plus number either. On DraftKings right now, it's a plus number still. So I thought it was going to be like minus 110 or something like that, minus 120. Dan, I think this fight is pretty cut and dry, like JBC said. I mean, Jung does have like some power, obviously, but I don't think he has anything if this fight goes down to the ground. So and I have a feeling that's where this fight ends up. So do you agree, Sub?
Yeah, Jung has looked quite bad his last few times out. The takedown defense, the grappling defense has never really been there. Just to play devil's advocate, though, we haven't really seen Sy up against any kind of adversity. I think he landed like one strike in his last fight, but that's because he got it to the mat like pretty much immediately and, finished off his opponent. But I think Daewon Jung is actually one of the more interesting like punts down in this range, just because he does have power in his hands. And we've got a lot of question marks about what Sy is even like on the feet. Like, obviously, he is, he should be dominant in the wrestling and grappling here, but every fight starts on the feet. And Jung does have, the one thing he has going for him is he's got power in his hands. So it wouldn't be the most shocking thing in the world to me to just see Jung put him on his back.
Yeah, I don't feel like Sy's one of those guys that's just gonna just go for it without like setting it up, like setting up his like I feel like he's a little better to like set it up and almost like not rush in. I don't feel like he's gonna be like, oh, I need this like in the first like minute or something. Like I think he's gonna take his time, set it up. He knows that this guy, once they get down, he's in trouble. So I don't think he's going to be reckless trying to like shoot in and stuff like that. But you're right. We don't know what he's like if this did go past like round 2 or something like that, and it stayed on the feet for a full round. Like, what does he actually give if that were to happen? So that's a good point. I don't hate the take of like Jung just at 6,800. Maybe he's got the power and maybe he's one of the better 6K options down there. Obviously, there's not many. I like someone a little more. We'll get to in a few fights here, but I get why you like him. He's got some power. We're all on the Sy side though by sub too, so that's nice. Let's keep moving here. This is a 130 hospital type of fight here. JBC's favorite. We got Ion Cutelaba sitting a minus 105. The slight dog here. This fight is probably flipped multiple times, I would assume, versus Ivan Erslan, minus 115 on DraftKings Sportsbook right now. The over under is at 1.5, is sitting plus 130 to the over. So obviously people think this fight's going to end pretty quickly. JBC, what do you think here? Do we get a round 1 finish?
Yeah. I think that they're just going to go out there and just slug it out, and that's it. And that's why the line keeps flipping. It's because, whoever's the dog, you just bet on them. So it's like whichever one ends up at plus money, bet on them. Right now they're both minus, so that you can't really find that angle, but they're both plus 120 to finish. I like either fucking one. This is going to be a great one.
Yeah, somehow, Dan, last time we got a fight with Cutelaba, he lasted 3 rounds with wins, which was really annoying. But
I got his ass kicked too.
Yeah, he did. But what do you see here? Is this a quick fight?
Yeah, it's definitely a quick fight. I'm on the Erslan side though, because I just do not trust Cutelaba. He's 7-9 in his, or not 7-9.
He's the GOAT. He's the GOAT.
I don't know how you can say you trust either of these guys. Like, I get not trusting Cutelaba, but to use that as the excuse, though, Dan, for why you're picking Ursula is
I gotta find something. I gotta find something. But I mean, it is truly a coin flip fight. These guys are gonna go out there and swing. Someone's gonna die. It's gonna be very entertaining.
Double knockout.
Yeah, yeah. That I could see that. Yeah, I just Cutelaba, his last few times out have just like really left me very unhappy. So I'm on the Urslan side. He's cheaper. The line has flipped to his side, and you know it's his UFC debut, but he's coming from KSW, which we've mentioned in with other people debuting from KSW. That's like the premier MMA organization.
We got to hit Poland for one of those shows. Probably Pujanowski.
That would be sick. But yeah, I mean, like KSW is like the opposite of Cage Warriors. It's like when somebody comes from KSW, I'm like, ooh, like this is interesting. It's like when someone comes from Cage Warriors, I'm like, you know. So KSW vet, my distrust in Cutelaba, I definitely favor the Urslan side, but for DFS, I'm gonna be heavy on both sides of this, probably pretty even as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you're going to want sides of this fight. I wouldn't be shocked if in the first minute and a half of this fight, Cutelaba shoots for a takedown and gets it. Because I think actually that could be where he has the best chance of having like, you know, the edge pretty much in this fight. Because I think if it just stands, it's 100% a coin flip fight. Urslan, that might even be more his path just in general. I think Cutelaba has a little bit more on the ground for Urslan to deal with and struggle with a little bit. So I'm going to be on the Cutelaba side just because I think he has that path, and I think he could use it too. It would not shock me if he's like, I can take this dude. He's gone for takedowns before. He can get takedowns.
Oh, he definitely wrestle fucks sometimes. Just like hard, like Marab, like just go in there.
Yeah, and maybe he finds a finish from the ground. Like who knows how bad this guy is on the ground. Like so, I think he could try something like that. Especially if they try and stand and he gets a little rocked early, he might like panic shoot too, and maybe this guy, you know, has nothing from his back. So. Yeah, I'm going to go on the Cutelaba side, but it's a great fight for DFS. Highly recommend getting some of these guys if you're playing multiple lineups. JBC, are you on the Cutelaba side, just to be clear, or were you on the Urslan side? I can't remember.
I don't want to bet the fight other than the under. I like the under.
Yeah, I think the under is a good bet.
Like for DFS, I'm playing both of them like a fuck ton.
I was going to say exact method of finish minus 500 by KO in this fight on DraftKings.
It's going to be good.
They're like, well, nope, you're not betting this shit. We know it's going to happen.
Those first 30 seconds are so fucking amazing.
I mean, you got two guys with bombs for hands and no chin.
Yeah, it's fucking great.
Two glass cannons. This is like the perfect DFS matchup. Until it gets fucking scratched after lock.
That will not be fun if some shit like that happens. So don't even say that stuff. Because you know, like everyone is going to tilt because this fight's going to be like 90% owned in DFS.
And then all the counties are going to cry and fucking, oh, we want late swap back. Shut up.
Yep.
You
don't.
No, you don't.
The only thing I would like is the clear, like, okay, if the UFC knows an hour before the fight time that a guy's like throwing up in the back, maybe we could get like, hey, like this dude's throwing up in the back, like this fight's probably not going to happen here or something like that. I get why.
If they let that information out, then if the fight does happen, everybody would have already bet on the other.
I was going to say, I get why they don't do it because of the betting side, but it's annoying if you're like,
right,
you kind of like know that fight's not going to happen, but you wait until after lock to let it out, I guess. So you're right. You can't, if there's any chance of the fight still happening, you can't let it out. But if you know there's no fucking way this fight's going on, which has happened, there's no way it hasn't happened with some of these fights, then you need to just let it out. You know what I mean? But I get why, because like JBC's point, they're probably pushing guys like, hey, throw up and then, try and get back out, like try and get ready to get out there, and guys, it's probably like try their best. So, all right, let's go to the next fight here. We've got Faraz Ziam sitting a -135 favorite versus Steamroller Matt Frevola at +114. Oh my God, we get plus money on Matt Frevola here in this matchup. I'm starting with this because let me tell you right now, this is a perfect matchup for Matt Frevola. There's not a better matchup for Matt Frevola. This Matt Frevola, the one that we've seen the last like 5 fights, four or 5 fights, because Faraz Ziam does not like to get hit. He cannot stop takedowns. He does not have just like absolute drop power. He's more of a touch and move, type fighter where he just wants to use his range, use his reach, and kind of hit you with that jab that's straight right down the middle. It's not powerful, but he'll catch you and drop you with it, but you're not out, right? Matt Frevola, you need to put out to beat, okay? Because he's not going to let you just dance around the cage and stick and move him all day. He's going to get right in your face like Terrence McKinney did with Faraz Ziam, and we all know what happened to Ziam with Terrence McKinney. He got right in that dude's face, he took him down, and he subbed him in like 2 minutes. And the sub wasn't even, by the way, like locked in. He had it like on the side of, on the side. I don't know how he still got that submission. It was pretty wild, the Terrence McKinney fight, but I think Steamroller is going to get right in his face. He's going to hit him. Faraz Ziam is not going to like it, but he can't panic wrestle because he's not a wrestler. So what the fuck's he going to do? He's going to try and trade with Matt Frevola, and that is not a way for him to win this fight if he tries to trade with Matt Frevola, because Matt Frevola is traded with much better guys and bigger power than him and won those fights. I know he got beat by BSD. That is not a bad loss, like at all. And I don't put him down. BSD is a totally different animal than Ziam. Like BSD is more like Frevola. BSD wants to smother you with pressure, which is what Frevola has been good at for the last few fights. So I think this is a perfect matchup. I love the dog here. He's +114 right now. And I think he finds a finish. I think this fight ends. I think he finds it inside the distance. I don't know what the number is right now for Matt Frevola inside the distance, but I will be betting that. And I will be heavy on him for DFS because I think this fight ends. Under 2.5 is plus money right now. I will be betting that as well. JBC, what do you like?
Totally opposite take. I think this is going to be a boring point fight. Faraz Ziam will be able to stay at distance from him and just jab him to death and score about 70 for DFS, 30-27. Matt Frevola will have a black eye at the end and not really be hurt.
Yeah, he's definitely not going to be hurt if this is the way that fight goes. But I don't know how's Faraz Ziam going to stop takedowns.
He's so long. I think his length he'll be able to stay away from him.
He got taken down by Claudio, who was absolutely gassed after 1 round. And he, in the second and third round, he still got taken down by him. You think Matt Frevola isn't going to be able to get takedowns if Claudio's getting takedowns? I don't think Matt Frevola is that good. I
don't think Matt Frevola is as good as you do.
Yeah. Okay, that just might be it there. We have different opinions on Frevola here. So, Dan, we got split here, so you got to be the deciding factor. So a lot of pressure on you right now for the people.
Well, as much as it pains me, I have to go against my fellow Long Island native son, Matt Frevola. I'm picking Ziam as well. I don't think this is going to decision. I think Ziam knocks him out. I don't think Frevola is very good. I don't think he's very smart, and I think he's got a terrible chin. I think he's going to, he's overly aggressive. I think he's going to rush in there. Ziam's going to catch him and knock his ass out. This ownership, I don't know. It seems a bit low on Frevola because I think a lot of people think, they dislike Ziam. Ziam is projecting in Saber at like 25. I think that's really high. Even though, that's probably like a pricing thing. They're like 82 and 8K.
Well, line flipped is another one. He's priced like a dog when he's favored.
Right, exactly. The money's been coming in on Ziam. I don't know. I just think, it kind of has more to do with like Frivola's chin and IQ for me. But I think that ZM, 25% for an 8K fighter who's the favorite now, like that is relatively low ownership. So I think, and I don't think he's going to come in at 25 either. Like the field hates him.
Yeah.
Like,
People do not play for SZM.
Yeah,
no,
people don't. I think he's so I would be more on the Dan side than the JBC side of how this fight goes, because in Dan's side there's actually a finish, even though we don't agree on who gets finished. Like Matt Frivola is not going to let him just point. And look at who Ziam's fought. He's fought Claudio, Jai Herbert, who's a point fighter, perfect style matchup, Figlac. Terrence McKinney's the only style matchup so far that Faraz Ziam has faced that is not what he wants to fight. And Matt Frivola is more like Terrence McKinney than he is like Jai Herbert or any of those other point fighters. So I think you got to think Ziam can finish Matt Frivola, or will finish Matt Frivola if you like the Ziam fight. I don't think he's going to just be able to sit there and fight that style. Matt, he's not going to let him do it. At some point, he'll just get desperate. And like Dan said, he'll just run in there and get knocked out. If that's what you think happens, that's fine. But I see a finish here. Either side that you're on, okay. But Frivola's fought the better guys. Like, I don't know. He's much more dangerous than Ziam. Give me the more dangerous guy who's fought better competition and is a dog. Like, I'll take that, especially for DFS too. I think all the upside is on Matt Frivola's side to finish this fight early. But all right, we had disagreed. These two are on Ziam. I'm on Frivola. We needed one of those fights. We had to get one of those where we're totally on opposite sides so we can make fun of each other in the chat after. But let's move on. We got the next fight here. Morgan Charrier versus Gabriel Miranda. Charrier coming off of, I think his last loss was to Chepe, if I remember correctly. Tough loss. It was a split. It was a really good fight. If you just like a good dog fight, that was a really good fight. Even though Charrier lost, I think he showed out because Chepe brought him into deep water, and I don't think he's used to being there. And he looked good. Chepe won. I thought it was the right choice. I thought it was the right winner, honestly. But I wouldn't have been mad if Chepe lost and they gave Charrier the win, because I did think it was very close. I think at the end of the fight, though, it was just that Chepe was moving forward and was pressuring him against the cage, and he had Morgan panic shooting and trying to wrestle towards the end because he was getting pieced up on the feet. And I think that's ultimately what won the fight for Chepe, and he won the grapple exchanges once he panic shot and was on top of him for a little bit. So this fight's really interesting. I think that, you got a dog in Miranda who is, I think, dangerous, especially grappling the first round and a half. I think he's very dangerous, and I think he's live. I think he's very live because Charrier is he's going to entertain the grappling because he's a good grappler too. So he's going to entertain it. And when you have someone who's so elite at something, you got to be really careful when you entertain that grappling with someone like Miranda's, who they put this dude up against BSD, I think his first fight in the UFC. So they obviously think he's a pretty good fighter. And I think he's live. I think he's live. To plus 470 for Miranda is crazy. I'm betting the dog here. At plus 470, that's just too wide for me not to take a shot on. JBC, what do you think here? Is this one of those bets where it's a little too wide, the line, or are you on the favorite?
I like Charrier a lot here. I think that he's too much. He has too much of an advantage on the feet. I think he's going to get a quick knockout. I don't think he's going to entertain the grappling the way that you're describing. Even if it would be dumb. It would be dumb to do it. I don't think he's going to do it. I think he's just going to strike, and I think he knocks him out.
Miranda's took down BSD, I think, twice.
Huh?
So I think
BSD is willing to go after it. I don't think Charrier is going to want that to happen.
Yeah, that's true, I guess. Okay. Dan, same thing. Do you agree? Is it Charrier all day? I will say he's got a nasty body kick. That right kick, and he puts it right in that like lower gut. Like he tags you good with those lower those body kicks to the abdomen. He's really good with those things. And it doesn't look like he throws them hard, but he must just like hit it in the right spot because he's folded people with some of those.
Yeah, Sherry's got some nice power. You know, his output is a little bit concerning, but I'm way less concerned about that against a guy like Miranda, who you mentioned his fight against BSD. He got knocked down 3 times before ultimately getting finished in the second round. He looked really gassed after that first round as well, which, like, granted, you fight BSD, you're going to be pushing a pretty absurd pace, but still, don't really love to see you gassed in the second round regardless. I think if you like Miranda and you want to take the dog shot, you know, his path to victory is sub, and that's it. Like, he's not going to knock him out. He ain't going to win a decision. So I think if you like Miranda, you want to bet the sub number at like plus 750.
It's 11-1 on DraftKings right now.
Shit. All right.
I'm about to bet it right now because that's his path. Literally, he's not winning a decision. And I don't think he's knocking out Cherrier. So,
so I think definitely jump on that if you want. But yeah, he's just the durability and the cardio are super sus for Miranda. So unless he's getting a rear naked choke or jumping on the neck in some way or another within the first round, he's pretty much fucked, in my opinion. Like we mentioned, Cherrier lost last time out versus Chepe, but Chepe's a dog, and he went the distance with him, and the fight really could have been called either way. So, I agree with JBC here. I really like Cherrier, and now that we're talking about it, he's much better play than Klein for basically the same price.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about the volume here. I agree with you, Dan. Like, Miranda is gonna. I think Cherrier is probably. I think he's better 9K play than Klein, Perez, and Sai. How would you rank those 9K guys outside of BSD? Because we all know BSD is a solid 9K option. But how would you rank those 9K guys, especially outside of BSD, JBC?
Cherrier 1. Klein 2, Sai 3, just because I think Klein has a lot more. Like Sai, he could win in the first round and only score 95. He kind of needs to get it right off the bat to score heavy. Brito, I like Brito over Aylin Perez.
I forgot about him.
Yep. He, I think he could get a finish real early. Then Perez and then Lapalus.
Yeah, I kind of like those rankings here. Brito, Cherrier, even though I like Miranda, I think this fight goes one way or another, and I think the fight finishes under a round and a half. So, I think it's either Cherrier knocks him out, in early in the second round or at the end of the first round, or I think Miranda finds a sub early in the fight. So, yeah, I think it's a really good fight for DFS. Probably go with Brito, him, and then I agree with your side take. I think in a win, he's scoring like 95 to 100.
He needs the quick win bonus.
Yeah, and it's hard to get a takedown and get a sub in like a minute. That's like really, like the way those things happen is when guys are like honestly sometimes shooting on you and then you're catching them in like front chokes and stuff. Yeah. It's a lot harder to like, ground a guy, take his back, and then sub them all in like the span of a minute. It doesn't happen that much. So I agree with you. He's probably a little lower down my list. Dan, how would you rank like the top 3 9K guys?
Yeah, so I'm just going to look at my ranking, like my ranking formula. I've got Cherrier, followed by Sai. Then we've got Klein, Brito, Lapalus, and Perez.
Perez at the bottom. Okay.
Interesting. All right. Keep that going. Yep, just catching up. Yeah, you know it, K. Phallic Burner. You know it. It's on brand. All right. This is a brand. JSU has the brand, and it should say steamroller. I should get steamroller like on my back or something like that. Because I love that fucking. He's won me so much money. He's literally won me so much money.
I do love Frivola's Tapology picture. He looks like an extra from True Blood. Like he looks like he's like gonna go hunt some vampires or some shit.
That's it. Let's go hunt some fucking. I'd go hunt some vampires with Matt Frivola. Fuck yeah. Hey, I'm fine with that.
You better be ready to take those vampires on by yourself because he's getting knocked the fuck out.
I can't wait for that fight. All right, we'll have some fun there. Let's go to the next fight here. Closer fight, in my opinion. We got Kevin Jousset sitting a plus 140 underdog on DraftKings versus Brian Battle. Pooh Bear. He's always been Pooh Bear. Will always be Pooh Bear. Sitting a minus 166 favorite at DraftKings right now. I think this is a very coin flippy fight. I think you got two guys that are both good fighters. And JBC, I love Brian Battle. I want to bet Brian Battle just because he's more my guy. I've been on him since jump. But I do feel like this line should be literally like a minus 110 type fight.
Well, it's been going up. It opened around there, and the line's been moving heavily toward Battle. And I agree with that. I think Battle, will be able to use his length to stay at distance. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of action. I think that, it's going to be a boring point fight, and I think Battle wins.
I could see boring point fight, but in a boring point fight, they're sometimes really, really close. And sometimes,
as Dan loves, the French crowd,
Yep. Yeah. He's got the French. He's in Paris. We'll see on that, but I could see split decision. I don't know what that, the prop is, but I could see a split decision fight here. Dan, what do you see here? Do you agree it's Brian Battle?
Yeah, I'm on Battle. I think this fight takes place on the feet, and I think Battle has Jousset on the feet. The X factor, though, is Battle's, takedown defense, his defensive grappling is quite poor. And even though we haven't really seen it from Jousset, like Jousset does mix in takedowns and grappling, albeit sparingly, but he does. So I think if Jousset comes into this matchup looking to wrestle, that he's got a much better chance. But I tend to think this plays out on the feet. And if it does play out on the feet, I think Battle is the side here.
Yeah, I think this. I want to take Brian Battle. I think it should be closer. Jousset's plus 140 in Paris right now. You mentioned the takedowns. Pepe Silva mentioned the takedowns in the chat. You would think that if he thinks he has an advantage there, he might try to go to some takedowns. So we'll see. I'll lean the dog just because the plus 140 number, but it's a close fight. Honestly, I'm excited just because I think they're both good fighters, but we might get a boring fight. It might be one of those fights that is not as fun like JBC talked about. Let's go to the next fight where we've got complete opposites. We've got one fighter who's normally really boring and one fighter who is all action pretty much all the time. William Gomez, plus 270 underdog, sitting right now on DraftKings to Joe Anderson. Brito, minus 340 favorite right now. I think this is another one of those style matchups. And, this time I'm on the favorite, but I just don't think Brito's going to be afraid of Gomez. And I think Brito's going to, make it super uncomfortable, get in his face and do what he wants. He's got power. He's got takedowns. He can literally take this fight wherever he wants to go with it. And I think he finds a finish here. So it's not a hot take. I just think, styles make fights most of the time. And I think this is a terrible stylistic matchup for someone like William Gomez. JBC, do you agree?
Yeah, I think this is going to play out much similarly to the Umar Sy fight where, he's just not going to be afraid of Gomez whatsoever. Charge right in, takedown sub, bam. Like, I just don't see what Gomez has for him. Minus 310 it seems short. I feel like Brito should be like minus 500.
The sub number right now, plus 225 on DraftKings. If you like that, you compare that. I'm just looking at, so you go Sy and him to win by sub. We get a nice plus 615 parlay on DraftKings. The submission parlay. We like submission parlays, Dan.
Parlays.
Yeah, we're in on that on this show. We love some submission parlays. What about you?
Yeah, I'm on Brito. I don't like JBC said, I don't think Gomez has anything to make Brito think twice about just rushing in there and looking to waste him real fast. And I think that's what's going to happen. Gomez, he's had a pretty good run in the UFC, but you look at his competition, it's extremely weak. And he's just kind of eking these things out, like a majority decision versus Jarno Aarons, a split decision versus Francis Marshall. He finished Giannis Gamori, but I don't think Gamori even landed a strike on him. So, the level of competition is extremely weak. And, it doesn't give me much confidence for him. I think Brito is most definitely the side here. He looks like he's going to be pretty under-owned as well. I mean, if this ownership at 23% is accurate, then I want to get over that. The line
23% for Brito, you said?
Yeah, I think that's pretty low.
If everybody goes with Alan Perez and BSD, I mean,
true.
That's true. And then you got Klein, who's going to get some ownership. So you got those guys. Yeah. Maybe Brito does fall through the cracks. So maybe he is a little bit of a better play just from that standpoint alone.
15 inside the distance for 9,200. I'll take that all day. Yeah.
And at least with Brito, he could get multiple takedowns if he could get a knockdown, and then, who knows? He has big paths to upside. I don't think it's like Sai where, he's probably getting 95, 100 in the upside with that one takedown, and then he just finds a quick sub. Brito could do a little bit more, I think, in the points department to get you a little higher upside from someone like him. So, yeah, we're all on the Brito side. Let's move to the next fight here. We've only got, 2 more fights left? We've got Nasruddin Imavov coming off of a win versus Jared Cannonier versus Brandon Allen. Allen sitting a plus 164 underdog. Imavov minus 198 favorite over on DraftKings. I think this line's moved a little bit, maybe in favor of Allen, if I remember correctly. JBC, was Imavov a bigger favorite, if I remember?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to take a shot on Allen, but that was I think the line should be closer. Obviously now the line is moving. I already bet Allen. I could bet him again, depending on where this line, if it starts to tighten up even more, then I probably won't, but I already have some money down on him. JBC, where are you at with this fight?
So I was at Imavov's last fight, and Cannonier was able to, control the fight through the first couple of rounds, and he was probably winning when he got knocked out in the 4th round.
2 judges had him up 2-1.
Right. So I tend to think that, Brendan Allen could fight a similar style and be able to control the fight a little bit and wrestle fuck him a little bit and eke this one out. I like Allen. I don't like Allen inside the distance, but I like Allen to win a decision.
I like that. I like him to win the decision too. Dan, where are you at with this fight?
I'm on the other side of that one. I like Imavov. I just think he's more skilled basically everywhere. I know Brandon Allen's pretty popular, but he just doesn't, he doesn't really overly impress me anywhere. And for what it's worth, last time out against Curtis, I thought he lost that fight. So
it's the hat, Dan. It's the hat.
We did. I forgot the funny hat boost. I might have to flip over to Allen. But no, I think Imavov, he's longer, he's more skilled. I think he's better on the feet. And I think he's competent enough on the ground that I don't think Allen is going to present. He's not going to present anything that Imavov can't handle. The only thing I will say is Imavov has shown some sus cardio in the past, and Allen. What's that?
Sus.
Yeah.
Sus.
Yeah. Sus.
Are we thinking late round, 3rd round submission for Brandon Allen at 22-1? Is that what you're saying here? A little sus cardio?
That's a little juicy. That's pretty juicy. I'm on the Imavov side. I think if you like Allen, that's a pretty good bet. But
the good thing for your side is it's only 3 rounds, right? So it's sus cardio, but it's probably only a round of sus cardio.
Right.
less.
He got
You know,
he got a 4th round knockout the last time he was out there. That's not such cardio.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah, that is true. Against Cannonier, who
still
is
felt
very
like
much.
he was slowing down, like just a little bit, but
yeah,
he did get the KO. So that's a good point. All right, we're split here though. What do you think for DFS? I mean, for DFS, Imavov does seem to have a little more upside, right?
Yes.
JBC.
Yeah, it would take a lot of takedowns from Allen in order to score, and whereas Imavov could just flatten him. So, yeah, DFS, I don't think you can avoid playing Imavov, at least some, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he did, to be fair to Brandon Allen, he did get 6 takedowns against Chris Curtis, who has, really good takedown.
5 rounds.
That's true, but I'm saying Chris Curtis has really good takedown defense,
Mm.
right? You know what I mean? And he got six takedowns there. So, Dan, what are you doing for ownership on this fight? Are you going to be heavy on the Imavov side?
I don't have the strongest lean on this for a DFS. I haven't started building yet, obviously. The projected ownership is like 20 on each of them. I really don't mind getting there, It's just kind of, some of these fights, you don't have to feel strongly about all of them, but it's like, if you're playing a large portfolio, you're getting them in there. So I think Allen, price consideration, if he wins, is going to be nutted. But I think, I don't know about them being equal on ownership. I think Allen will probably catch a little more ownership just because he's popular, he's cheap, people know the name. It's like people flock to plays like that.
Yeah, I think if Allen wins, I think if he finds a finish, he's going to be nutted. If he wins a decision, I don't know if he's nutted at that price tag, like 100%. Anyways,
yeah.
I would be careful with that. If you think he goes to decision, if you think he finishes, then you should be playing him in your DFS lineups. And I don't hate the stab on the late round sub because he's gotten late round finishes, multiple times, multiple 3rd round submissions, getting guys tired, controlling the fight, kind of like JVC said, and then finding late round finishes. So that's not a terrible bet. That's all I'll say. All right, final fight of the night. We got the money man, Renato Moicano, plus 235 right now, sitting on DraftKings, and Benoit Saint Denis coming in minus 290 favorite over on DK Sportsbook right now. Benoit coming off the loss in the 2nd round to Dustin Poirier, where staph infection, whatever, he came out, he comes out the same way, and he tries to just bully everyone. And he found out in that 2nd round that you can't just do that against everybody. Maybe you can do it against most guys, but Dustin Poirier is not most guys. And he found out quick, and he ended up getting put night-night in the 2nd round. So I do think this is definitely a better spot for Benoit Saint Denis because he's not going to be afraid of Moicano's power. He should be afraid of Moicano, if he gets on top of him, if they go to the ground, he should be afraid of him. But I don't think he's going to fear his power or anything, which is going to let him get closer. And I think he trusts his own takedown and grappling to not lose in those scrambles and stuff like that. He's pretty good scrambling. He's pretty urgent in those spots there. Like I said, Miranda took him down. He kind of found his way back up pretty quickly. And I think he could do something similar, but if Moicano gets him down, he could be in trouble. But I got Saint Denis. I got him by finish. Moicano's been dropped. That fight against fucking Turner, I'm still so pissed because Jalen Turner's stupid ass, he had him knocked out. He had him done. He puts his damn arms up like the ref should have called it. And no, you should have went and you should have finished that fucker off. And he did not. And he ends up losing that fight that he should have run. So he deserved to lose it for doing stupid shit like that. But he had Moicano just absolutely done for, and he didn't finish him off. I don't think Saint Denis is going to make that mistake, JBC. If Saint Denis drops this dude, he's going to go and finish the job. And that's why I like him here. I think it happens in the 1st or 2nd round. So, yeah, I got Benoit Saint Denis. JBC, where are you at?
So I think we're getting a little bit of a gift here because MOICANO obviously should not have won his last fight against Jalen Turner. He was getting the shit beat out of him, and he had some very fortuitous things happen to him. And BSD obviously had the thing with the staph infection against Poirier, and he was a fairly sizable favorite before all that happened. So I think minus 280 when he was minus 200, minus 220 against Poirier, against MOICANO, when MOICANO really has nothing for him other than maybe snatching a sub if he makes a mistake. I just don't like. I'm leaning toward locking Saint Denis in DFS personally. I really don't think that the odds that MOICANO wins are as high as what the market does. I'm going to bet BSD at minus 280 pretty heavily.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think it is a gift, honestly. I think it's all off of a fight that MOICANO shouldn't have won. And obviously, Benoit looked rough, especially getting knocked out. Like, there's different ways of getting finished. The way he got knocked out, it did not look great, obviously. But again, it was against Dustin Poirier. And like you said, he was a minus 200 favorite against fucking Dustin Poirier. Like, that says a lot.
It's
obviously.
the same guy. The same guy. Like, it's not like it's a different person in the body. Like,
yeah, exactly. Dan, I agree 100% with JBC. I think he makes a lot of good points. I assume you're on the BSD side.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you guys. I think BSD, like, he's going to win. He's going to win inside the distance. I think he steamrolls him. MOICANO, for all his technical skill, the chin is just not there. He can be hurt. He can be dropped. He can be finished. And, the way BSD fights, he's just going to fucking run right through him, dude. Like, that's how I see this playing out. Like, again, MOICANO is probably more technically skilled in other areas, but it's like, the difference between a martial artist and a fighter, and BSD is like, MOICANO might be the better martial artist, but BSD is the better fighter. And I think that's going to
He's the better killer is what you mean.
The BSD has killed people.
Yeah. He's in Paris, obviously. Like, this is
going to be dude, the referee's going to have to pull him off of him to prevent it from killing him.
Yeah, he ain't going to do a Jalen Turner,
No, that's what I mean.
MOICANO's going to the hospital.
He's going to do a Jalen Turner on Bobby Green, not a Jalen Turner on MOICANO.
This is going to be really, really, really ugly.
I'm going to love to see it. I personally am not a MOICANO fan.
Pepe Silva says BSD has 0 ranked wins. I mean, man, you can only
zero ranked.
You only have 0 until you have 1.
Yeah, it's like, I get it. He lost to Poirier, the one guy. Whatever. You should not get a ding for losing to the top of the top. Like, that's
and when he was compromised and he lost to. Listen, that first round he looked very, very good against Poirier, and then he gassed out. Like, I don't think he's going to gas out again.
Yeah, he clearly gassed out too. Like, he clearly knew he had one round.
It happen.
Yeah, he knew. He's like, I can't go past this like round and a half, and he couldn't. Like, that's all he had. I agree with you. He's not going to make that mistake here unless there's something we just don't know. But I don't think that's happening. So yeah, we're all on the BSD side. I like your idea of just going heavy on him in DFS too. But those are all 14 fights here. Let's give a favorite bet for this fight. Dan, do you have a favorite bet for the people on this card?
Yeah, we mentioned it before, but Altamirano minus 120, minus 125 now. I think you win.
Son of a bitch.
I like it. I like it.
First,
it's up to minus 130 on DraftKings right now. He keeps moving up, Dan. He's moving on up. It's a good bet. JBC, you got a bet for the people?
I'm going to go with the under on Ion Kutalaba and Ivan Urslan. I think it's under 1.5 at like minus 140, minus 150, something like that. Yeah, that's going to be a murder fight.
Yep. DraftKings is sitting at minus 166, but that's a pretty good under spot. I will say someone's going to the old hospital here. My pick. It's Steamroller. It's Matt. I got to go with my dog picks. So I can't be going with, any other picks right now. The dog picks have been working. I'm rolling with the dog picks here. I think he finds a finish.
Killer is coming, dude.
Yeah, Smile Killer is gonna find that right hook right to the fucking chin and get sit down quick. Plus 114 over on DraftKings right now. If you like them inside the distance, I think that number's sitting plus 330 on DraftKings. If you like them inside the distance, so I will be betting that, and those are all our bets for this card here. We'll have more on the Run Pure Sports website. If you guys want to sign up, RPS15 is the promo code, 15% off your monthly or weekly payment. You can use that promo code and get all the sports. If you like, we'll have the bets, obviously the Discord, full Discord with all the bets and DFS stuff channels. JBC, Dan, myself will be in there talking fights and all the other sports too. So Friday's jam-packed. We got a ton of shows. The Print Factory show with me, Big T, ODB's at 3:30. I know JBC, Stats, and JT do a betting show on this YouTube channel at 5 Eastern time. And then we've got like baseball shows, premium stuff. College football's premium today. Ton of shows. Use that code RPS15. Get the winners for this weekend. For JBC, Dan, and myself, JSU, hopefully we'll see you guys in the RPS Discord. But until next time, we're out. Peace.